Hey y'all, it's Savannah and this is Savannah Says. I'm here today to go through my June wrap-up. I have my laptop here in my lap and I'm just going to talk about the things I read in June, how I thought June went for me, etc, etc. So let's get started. So yeah, I read 10 books this month and I think in May I read like 16-ish, so this month wasn't like the best month for me, which is okay. I know that it fluctuates, and this month I really felt like a lot of things disappointed me, or they were just straight up mid, and like that sort of caused me to like fall off. And even though I read 10 books, I DNF'd 3, but I try to at least read like 30 to 50% of a book before I DNF it. And some of these I wanted to like, and some of them I just was kind of like not feeling, so I really could not force myself to continue. But without further ado, let's get started. First up, we have Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. This was the first DNF of the month, and honestly, like, again, we can look at the cover and see that I already was not gonna like it. My friend wanted me to read it and she liked it, and you know, I wanted to give it a chance because I forced her to read Zodiac Academy, and I feel like it was only fair that I read something that she liked. And this really was the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, I will not be reading any more contemporary romances that look like this because I don't care. I don't care. I don't like cutesy stories. I don't want to read about them being happy from the beginning. I don't want to read these whack ass tropes. Like this book, okay, this book is about a girl named Danny, and she's like a professor of something in England, and she's in love with this guy named Zaf, who's like a ex-rugby player, something, security guard, something. And it's got fake dating, which already to me, there's never a reason that you should be fake dating, because you either want to smash or you don't. Like, why am I fake dating you? Like, how is it helping me to fake date you? You know, the only instance of fake dating that I have liked is Lara Jean. The movie was great, and that is the only instance that I think I could deal with fake dating. And honestly, I think contemporary romance books in movie form, I eat them up. So if this had been a movie, I probably would have liked it more, but like, they were fake dating. The reason they were fake dating was dumb to me. I don't know, I wasn't feeling it. I read about like 150 pages in and I really wanted to like it, and I really wanted to finish it for Suvi's sake, but I couldn't do it. I had to DNF it. Sorry, it's not for me, and I will not be reading any more of these types of books because, again, every time I read one, y'all see that I just am not vibing with the energy of the book, so I'm not going to torture myself anymore. Next, we have Path of Destruction, which I have talked about this book multiple times at this point. It's the first book in the Bane trilogy by Drew Karpyshyn. I've talked about this before. There is a review incoming for the entire trilogy because I am on book 3. And normally I would have read through these faster, but I'm listening to them on audiobook, even though I have the physical book, because I like the audiobook. So there is a review incoming. I gave this 5 stars. I thought it was good. I like villains. I feel like no one is shocked by this revelation, and this is about a villain, and he's a good villain. So 5 stars, love to see it. We'll be talking about this more in the future. Next, we have Bad Witch Burning by Jessica Lewis. And look, I really wanted to like this book, but I gave it 2 stars, and this was sold to me as like a YA contemporary like fantasy where the girl has powers and she's kind of like a medium, and that's what I thought it was. But what it really was a YA contemporary about like mental health, which is fine, but that's not what I wanted to read. And I think my understanding of what this was hindered my enjoyment of it, but also I thought the main character was annoying. And this book is about a girl named Kat, and she is a medium, and her form of communicating with the dead is through writing letters. So she'll write a letter, the letter will burst into flames, and the ghost will appear, and then their loved one can talk to them. Her powers escalate and manifest in ways that make her physically ill, and instead of just not doing it, she does it anyway and makes herself sicker. And through this, she sort of kind of like causes chaos in her town. And again, it's about mental health because she comes from like a really messed up home life. Her mom is emotionally abusive and is always with a physically abusive partner who abuses not the mom but abuses Kat. In this book, she gets abused by a grown man literally like 3 or 4 times, and it's not sexual abuse, it's straight up just like physical. Like, she gets beat up and attacked by these grown men. And there's also animal violence in this, which I just feel like it's unnecessary to be cruel to animals. In this book, it had animal violence and I was not feeling it, so I gave it 2 stars. Next. So we have Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent, and this is the first in a trilogy called The War of Lost Hearts, I think it's called. I give this book 3 stars, and I really could not even explain to you what the hell this is about. It's about a girl named Tasana. First of all, actually, The names in this book, and I think this is where the month started going downhill for me, because the names in this book were so out of pocket. Like, I'll put a little picture of a list of the names that are in this book, but like, they're so crazy that I literally could not keep track of who the fuck anybody was. And so this book is about a girl named Tasana, and she's got like these powers, and she's of mixed race in a world where like the races are separate. So there's two races whose names I cannot remember. One race looks like regular, like human beings, like they're tan skin, and they have control over like fire and earth, and her and the other race is like pale skin, white hair, that kind of thing, and they have control over, I want to say, water and air, but she's mixed, which people don't like. And she's like a slave, but then she gets freed, and she gets this sentient magic pretty much like installed into her, which installed is not the right word, but it gets installed into her, and through and with this power she wants to like avenge her homeland. I don't know, I really cannot tell you the plot of this book, but like I was very confused for 50% of it, but once I hit the 50% mark, I was into it, and the romance in this is good, and I think that is what is keeping me afloat here. And like, I don't want to say it's a bad book, because it's not a bad book, it's just confusing and hard to read, and maybe I just wasn't like in the right place mentally to be trying to consume this. And since then I have started the second book, but I'm gonna keep reading because I want the romance, obviously. Next I have Dark House by Katrina. Next is a book called Dark House by Katrina Hall, and it's part of this series called Experiments in Terror, and I picked this as one of my one of my Summerween picks from my Summerween challenge video, which I guess I can link on the screen now. That's a thing that I can do. Yeah, I gave this 3 stars, which, okay, like I know that means nothing to anyone anymore, but it was pretty good. You know, it's very evident that this is like the first book in a series though, which is why I couldn't give it more than that, because it had some things that had me questioning, but this series has like 13 books. So I'm assuming it's going to get better, and from what I understand, it really starts picking up around book 3. And this is a horror / romance series, and it is about a girl named Perry. And Perry, one day she's at her uncle lives on this beach, and she's at his house, and he has like this abandoned lighthouse on his property. It's like a haunted lighthouse, and therefore he has it roped off, like he doesn't want anyone to go there. But throughout the years of him living here, this lighthouse has attracted attention from like people who want to ghost hunt. And so Perry, I don't know if it's classified as like mental illness in the story, or if she has powers or what, because again, I've only read the first book, but she has like visions, and her visions are brought to life in reality. Like her visions manifest, her dreams and visions manifest in real life. And so she goes to this lighthouse, and she has like a paranormal experience, and she bumps into this man named Dex, who is trespassing on her uncle's property. Come to find out, he's like a videographer, and he works for like a BuzzFeed type of website, and he wants to make a ghost hunter show. So he recruits Perry, they go back to the lighthouse, and more like paranormal stuff ensues. And while I was not personally scared by this, I could see that it was like the imagery that it was trying to invoke was spooky to me, but I just wasn't scared. So I'm hoping that the next one is actually kind of scary. I gave it 3 stars mostly because there was some stuff that like wasn't answered. Like the way that Perry's visions manifest was never, like I never got an explanation for that. And also Dex is the love interest in this series, but I thought he was weird. I wasn't feeling his vibe. They have a weird unnecessary age gap. Like she's 22 and he's 32, but there's no reason that he needs to be 32 besides the fact that it's an age gap. So those reasons combined are why I gave it 3 stars, but I'm hoping that the next one will be better. Next is Twisted Love by Anna Huang, and look, I just posted a review about this, so I also put that on the screen here. And this book I gave 3 stars, and I thought it was pretty much trash. I gave it 3 stars though because like up until the halfway point I was into it, and this is a contemporary romance about this girl named Ava who falls in love with her brother's best friend, who's this guy named Alex. But it's really not even a fucking romance. It's like a murder. It's basically a murder book with a romance attached to it, and that is why I gave it 3 stars, because I would have given it 2, but it was so like Crazy Train that I felt like it deserved the extra star, because I literally was like, what the actual fuck am I reading? Next we have Glow by Raven Kennedy, and you know, this is hard for me, and I gave this 2 stars because this is the 4th book in the Plated Prisoner series, and I just was so pissed off reading this that, I mean, I can't really talk too much about it because it is the 4th book, but this is one of those things where this will come up again in this video for sure, and probably in future videos, because I feel like this is a problem that is starting to get out of control in like the new adult fantasy romance world. The problem that I have with this is that The plot literally does not begin until after page 500. And I think it even started later than that, and it started like around 550. Like book 3 ended on a cliffhanger. They don't even fucking talk about the cliffhanger until after page 500. And so I'm like, why is this book so long? There was no plot. Almost none of the characters had a fucking point. And there's more characters being added with like POVs that like we literally do not need, do not care about. They're just stretching out the plot to make the book longer. And I'm like, why are you so determined to write these long books when you don't have anything to say? If you don't have 700 pages worth of plot to say, make the book 300 pages. Why in the hell is the book so long when you don't even talk about anything until it's almost over? And then you put a cliffhanger at the end and you want me to buy the next one. Do something new or make the book shorter. Period. Next, we have The Rule of Two, which is the second book in the Bane trilogy, and I gave this 5 stars. This introduced one of my favorite characters of the series and maybe in Star Wars of all time. Her name is Xana. She's a bad bitch. She is Darth Bane's apprentice, and really this book is about her and him and how he's training her and the stuff they go through while she's training. But so far, she's just a really good character, and this book was good. And after reading the drivel that you see me talk about in this video, I'm happy that I got a 5-star out of something. Next, we have Alice Isn't Dead by Joseph Fink, and I gave this 1 star, and really it was a DNF, but I read like 100 something pages of it. And this book was just like, it was weird and it was boring AF. Like, it's about a woman named Keisha who's clearly black, and her wife goes missing and she's dead. She assumes that the wife is dead because she's gone missing, but then one day she sees her like on the TV or something, and so Keisha basically ruins her life, her own life, in search of finding her lost wife. But the book doesn't even like explain that until like 30 pages in. Like, it starts with a monster encounter, which is already confusing, and I don't know, it was just like badly written as a book. Like, there was like, the way it was laid out was visually confusing. There was like no paragraphs, like the sentences were really, really long, not even descriptive, but like scenes, you would jump to the next scene so quickly that it's kind of like, where are we even at? And apparently this was a podcast originally, and while again I'm not really a podcast audio spoken word person, I think that this should have stayed a podcast because it's terrible as a book. Don't recommend. And the last thing that I read in June, which technically I've DNF'd this morning, is Guild by Marissa Meyer, and this is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. It was bad. I gave it 2 stars. And this is another situation where the book was way too fucking long. Like, this book is over 500 pages and I read 300 of them. And when I tell you that nothing happened in the 300 pages, like the first 100 pages, okay, this book is about a girl named Cyrilda, and she lives in, I guess it's like we're in a German world because Rumpelstiltskin is a German fairy tale. It's a Grimm Brothers fairy tale. And Cyrilda has been cursed and or blessed, depending on how you want to see it, by the god of, I want to say, fortune. And so her gift is that she can tell stories, and therefore she's a good liar. So all she does is tell these intricate stories that mean nothing to the plot. And then one day the wild hunt not wild hunt, the hunt, whatever. The hunt, the Erlkönig, the elf king comes, and she helps these 2 little forest creatures escape from the hunt. And the elf king basically asks her what she's doing, and she lies because she's a fucking liar. She's like, oh, I was picking up straw to spin into gold, which is where the Rumpelstiltskin thing comes in. And so the elf king kidnaps her, takes her to his dungeon, and wants her to spin gold, but she can't spin gold because she's a human, and she meets this ghost named Guild who can spin gold. And so first of all, my first thing is, if the main character is not the one with the powers, why am I reading it? Because this book is about her, but she doesn't have any powers at all. She basically, like, we were on a hamster wheel for the 300 pages that I read. She would get kidnapped, escape, or get kidnapped, and then like the hunt leaves and they come like once a month or something on like the blood moon, whatever it's called. And so the next moon she would get taken again, but instead of just staying in town, she would try to escape. And so it just literally, the plot is like her getting taken, her going to this one town that's in the same route as the castle that she was taken to, and then she gets taken again. And it's like the same thing. She's always by herself talking to the same 3 people, doesn't have any powers. And also, this book is very clearly supposed to be a romance, and I thought the romance was with the elf king, which is my bad. I've been reading too many fantasy romance books, but the romance is not with the elf king, it's with the ghost who's spinning gold. What? literally what? This morning I woke up, read spoilers, and was like, fuck this book. It's not good. It's not good. It's way too long. And for the first like 100 pages I was into it, but it's like it was boring. It was boring. And the worst part about this is that this ends on a cliffhanger and there's a second book. Like, girl, for what? There's no reason for that. And I had to wash my hands of it, and I just cannot. I have to start being better about like not letting myself be played. Like, if the book's not going well and I'm 300 pages in, it's time to quit. Cut her off. And so while that was not the most positive reading month, I have hope that July will be better, because all I can do, it literally can't be worse than what we just talked about, right? So yeah, that's all I have for you today. Tell me what you read this month. Did you read any of these books? Did you like any of these books? What books did you like? I'm always looking for a book recommendation, but until then, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time.